You are listening to The Beauty Beat with Francesca Alexander. In this podcast, I will be speaking with the founder of Wholistic Health Care.ca, Andrea Coulter. Andrea is known as the modern-day medicine woman, where she uses dynamic medicine to help you along with self-discovery in vibrant living. She is also known as the go-to homeopathic for entrepreneurs. Andrea is a Hustle and Glow mentorship grad. I love Andrea's tips on being real, slowing down, and prioritizing your health. Andrea talks to us about how to deal with stress and feelings of being run down as you run your business. We talk about nutrition, supplementation, and even green juice. Very excited to get Andrea's advice today as someone who is herself a thriving entrepreneur. Here is Andrea Coulter on AMP Radio's The Beauty Beat. Hello, today I'm with Andrea Coulter, and she is the modern-day medicine woman. She's also a grad from the Hustle and Glow mentorship program. And so I got to work with Andrea and learn all about her business and what she does. And she is a total valuable, and I kind of stumbled right now because I feel like, yes, she is the modern-day medicine woman. For me, she is a soul advisor when I need to take it down, slow it down, and be realistic with health concerns and supplementation and how I can continue to go on strong in my business by taking care of myself. So welcome, Andrea Coulter. How are you?
Thank you, Francesca. I'm wonderful.
Good. So, a couple months back, I'll share with the audience, and this is how you're just so instrumental on everything. And especially, I'm so excited to really put you on the Beauty Beat and have other entrepreneurs listen to you because this is how she's so valuable. So let me go back a few months during, I think it was December, January, and I got struck with the flu that I didn't expect. My husband came home with it and lovingly gave it to me, or I accepted it, I should say, and I took it on. I took this illness on for a week, but I was down for 3 days. Now, with that said, as an entrepreneur, it's kind of like dog years. Every day you're down, for me, it equivalates about a week of not being productive and not producing good work that I usually do. So if you could imagine somebody that is most entrepreneurs, I would say, are, overachievers. They work long, extreme hours, and they have deadlines that they have to meet. And the kicker is when we're sick, there's nobody else to replace us. So it just, frustration levels don't really help you get well as quickly as you'd like it to be. And, again, that one day for me anyways will be equivalent to a week being down. So 3 days, it equals 3 weeks of me catching back to momentum, getting back to all of the things that I need, deadlines to be caught up on. And it's really a crazy roller coaster thing when you are sick. So, and Andrea is great. So Andrea has these great supplement packs on her website, and definitely check her out. It's holistichealthcare.ca. Check out her website. I'm going to let her speak, I promise, and giving us tips on what we can do to prevent ourselves. And there's different factors here. Not only is it flu season, it doesn't matter. For an entrepreneur, we can be sick any time of year, and it could be stress-induced. So, Andrea, tell us a little bit more about and you're so great because you're an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit more about our process and how we believe in getting sick so we can actually have some downtime.
Yeah, you're right. The key with, keeping your health at an optimum level is, you have to look at all the precursors, right? You have to take care of the physical body. Yes, we all know that. You have to take your immune boosters, your supplements. It's understanding and listening to your body, not just at a physical level, but it's also listening to your mental, emotional well-being. As you say, stress is one of the biggest things that actually suppresses your immune system and causes you to get sick. Not only eating the wrong foods, eating sugar, drinking too much, maybe alcohol, all of those things obviously stress out your immune system on a physical level and make you more susceptible to illness, but so does emotional and mental stress.
Yeah, but when you said sugar, I was like, that was probably a high sugar month for me. And that's definitely a constant battle of just trying to alleviate the sugar. But I know that definitely affects me. What are some of the things that, what you would recommend, say that we're feeling a little compromised or very stressed? What are some of the things and the cues that we should do, or maybe even take in supplements or food? Like, give us your tips.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know even for myself and in my own family, if somebody comes to me and they say, oh, I'm feeling like I'm catching something or I feel run down, what should I do? Now, mind you, my kids are kind of older teens now, and they pretty much have the schedule down pat. They know exactly what to do because we've been doing it for so many years, which is awesome. So generally, my first thing that I make everybody do when you're feeling like a little bit run down and overwhelmed is to boost up your immune system. So there are a number of different supplements that you can go to boost your immune system. Probiotics are always number one on my list, and a high probiotic, and not dairy probiotics. There are so many clients or people that I talk to, and they're like, oh, I eat my yogurt every day, so I'm getting my probiotics. That's not the most optimal way to get your probiotics. Number one, because dairy, most people, 95% of the population has an allergy, a food allergy to dairy. Wow. Mainly because it's so processed that it's pasteurized and the fat molecules are all broken down improperly and we don't get assimilated properly, and that's a whole other story. Also, there's sugar in it. And sugar always oppresses the immune system. So absolutely, the second you're not feeling well, eliminate sugar and eliminate dairy. Those are the big no-nos, because sugar suppresses your immune system. It's actually a zero-calorie product in the sense that not calorie, but zero nutritional value. In the sense that when you eat sugar, you actually have to deplete your body to process it. Dairy is a huge congestive. So for 95% of the population, we have an allergy to it on some level, and it creates congestion. So those two avoid, and then start doing a supplemental probiotic that's a minimum of 50 billion live enzyme or live bacteria. So those are always the first one I go to, and the two things that I eliminate. And then after that, it's a matter of, if you're stressed, then B vitamins are always essential. A B combination, B12 sublingual, antioxidants, vitamin C, like vitamin E, getting all of your nutrients into your body and more of it as you can. I'm not a big advocate of taking a bazillion different supplements, and I'm not an advocate of hard-packed, prefabbed, crappy, incipient-induced supplements. I mean, try to get most of your nutrients from food sources if you can, and try to get your supplements in either a whole food form liquid or powder. Those are the only two forms that your body can assimilate quickly and efficiently, and they usually don't have any toxins or additives in them.
Ooh, okay. So, for us in the States, I would, as you're saying this sounds like a list where I would take to Whole Foods, but for people that are outside of the U.S., we would go to just health food stores. In Canada, where would you go for something like this?
Oh, I mean, there's lots of great independently owned health food stores. There's also, of course, a bazillion different, I wouldn't call them health food stores. There's a lot of nutritional houses and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to portray them as all bad guys, but they don't necessarily have the knowledge base of what a clean product is. So I would really research your area and find those independently owned natural health food stores that, when you go in, if you say, I'm looking for clean, whole food form supplements, if they look at you with a blank look, turn around and walk out.
Ooh, good tip. Really good tip. And I know that you're not into really just oversaturating people with a bunch of crazy supplements. That's why I like your website, because you can go to holistichealthcare.ca and then you click on your healing kits tab. Mm-hmm. And folks, this is so great. You should just check it out, because there are supplementation packs there that will help, and they're very easy, they're very digestible, they're really cool to kind of keep with you. They're really small. My favorite one is the weight loss one, where there's a couple of granules that I put in my water. But there's so many different ones there that can help support you what you're going through. And there are, not to say that there's an endless selection, but I feel like they're so relevant today with what we're going through and the stresses, the environment that we're going through. Yes, the processed food sort of epidemic that's happening definitely in the U.S., not so much elsewhere. But we're making some subtle changes very slowly. But I love your tips, and I especially like even hearing them outside of the U.S. because, we know that a lot of our viewers here and listeners here are outside of the U.S. as well. So thank you so much for that, Andrea. Now, Andrea, the other thing is like, I want to talk a little bit about the mindset of how we get in I feel like it's a cycle, almost each quarter for me, where I get into this space of like, all right, I really need a break, but I just got to do this, finish this one more. And then, yes, I compromise my immune system, and then I start getting, to the point where I am mentally, exhausted. And what are some tips of how I can maybe get myself out of that and not have it be so cyclical?
That's a good question. Well, I guess part of it is really learning to be attentive to your own energy patterns. I'm trying to think what kit I have on my website. Oh, and I wanted to correct, when you punch in Wholistic Health Care, it's holistic that starts with a W. Often people think of holistic with an H.
Oh, yeah.
But it's actually holistic with a WH. So just for anybody who needs to know.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
However, looking at understanding your cycle and your patterns, and actually for women, it's not that difficult to figure out. And I'm trying to think what kit I have that information in, the 4-beat rhythmic cycle. But I'll give it to you right here. Women who are actually menstruating can actually figure out their cycle pretty quickly, because we all know that the week following your menstrual cycle, your energy begins to pick up in direct relation to hormonal levels, or it should if you're healthy. So most people feel much more energized. They feel more productive. They feel more expansive after their cycle has ended. And they're so you're ramping up this energy phase. And about mid-cycle is when people are mostly at their peak. And then there'll be a drop-off of energy as you head into those week or two just before your cycle. And then during your cycle should be a down week. It should be a week where you feel a little bit low to begin with. So the human organism functions on this rhythmic 4-beat kind of expansion-contraction cycle. And learning to listen to your own body and how that cycle functions is vital, not just for regular day-to-day, month-by-month processing and, year by year, but also when it comes to if you are trying to heal yourself or you are trying to get healthy, to listen to your own body rhythm is so vital. It's one of the first things I teach all my clients.
What's the first step that I would do to check you out and connect with you?
Yeah, well, on my website I have, I think on a number of pages, but you made a good point earlier before we started that I should probably have this on my contact page, is a free health assessment. I do free half-hour health assessments with people who are new to dynamic medicine and are looking at, what's your health issue? What are your major concerns? What are you struggling with that you haven't been able to figure out? And what, you would like me to help you to recover from and move forward from. And that would be the half-hour health assessment.
That's so great. And I know that we've personally talked about dynamic medicine. Can you kind of give a really quick synopsis to some of the listeners who've never heard of that before?
Yeah, for sure. Dynamic medicine is really just sort of a modern day spin-off of homeopathy. So if anybody understands what homeopathic remedies are, which I think the majority of the population have at least heard of homeopathy in some form or another. Homeopathy was discovered like over 300 years ago, and it's actually a system of healing that actually follows the real natural laws that the human organism functions under. So dynamic medicine takes the base knowledge of homeopathy and has transformed it into a modern day system of scientific healing and curing, following every known law that the human organism follows under. I'm a scientist by heart. I really am a big buff on show me how it works and why it works. I need to know. And so for me, I always liked homeopathy. I used it myself when I was working with a naturopath when I was a teenager to get my health back on track. But I didn't really understand it. And to me, like most people, it seems kind of hairy-fairy, well, this thing that has really nothing in it seems to kind of do something. But so dynamic medicine actually explains the how, the why, the where, the how much, the when. It tells you exactly when you need medicine, when you need supplements, what body system it's working on, and how to fully recover on every level. It actually is a really scientific system, and that's why I like it so much, is because it's very explainable one-on-one with an individual. When you can break down why they're ill on every level and then explain these are the exact tools you need as an individual to get healthy, it's kind of mind-boggling when it's done that way. Instead of just like randomly throwing things out there and hoping that something works, dynamic medicine is a system.
I love that. And I also want to jump back real quick into nutrition. And I think the biggest trend for a lot of us, especially a lot of entrepreneurs, is that we're green juicing. Some of us are doing it incorrectly, and I'm pointing the finger at myself, because what I did is I grabbed some green juice and act like it was my meal replacement with not a lot of protein. And the other thing is I've noticed that with the lack of protein and a lot of sugar, it wasn't really the end all and be all of what I was doing. So I kind of had to be very, take it back from the basics. I personally have a favorite recipe that I get at, I guess it's a recipe of one that I've been using that's been doing really well. And I basically copied it off of Whole Foods when I went to go get my shake. But can you tell me what you know about green juices and what we should avoid and how we should even get started? I mean, for me, it was daunting in the beginning.
That's a good question. And you're right. I think anything anymore, when it comes to finding out what is true and right for you as an individual, can seem a little bit confusing and daunting, because there's so many blooming choices out there now, right? We look at all of the health gurus that are putting out all the information. You go to the health food stores, you go to the Whole Foods, they're massive. There's so many options out there, and every one of them is touting as the next greatest thing for you. So this is kind of where my niche really is what I often do with clients is I sit down with them one-on-one and I help them understand their individual unique body metabolic kind of rate and help them to understand what works for them. Because what works for you may not work for me, right?
Right.
So not only is it a matter of trying to find the right things that work for you, your energy level, your body typology, your age, all those different factors, the health issues that you're struggling with, what things do you need to get your energy are completely different from the person beside you, So and I just wanted to backtrack too, in those healing kits, if you're looking at the kits, every single kit, depending on what the issue is involved, goes through all the exact supplements you would need for that condition, what foods you should be eating, what foods you should be avoiding. That's what the kits are all about. They give you exactly the information as if you were working one-on-one with me for that particular issue. Now, it doesn't individualize it totally, but it still gives you a pretty good idea of where to start. And when it comes to juicing, there's a lot of things that, we kind of have to be aware of. And one big tip that so many people do is use kale. And kale should never be eaten unless it's, lightly blanched or cooked, because it is a goitrous food. It's really hard on the thyroid. And I don't know how many, vegans and vegetarians and, health nuts I know that eat so much raw kale, it's ridiculous. Wow. And it's not healthy. Same with, broccoli and Brussels sprouts and all those cruciferous vegetables need to be slightly cooked. So if you're juicing with them, that's a no-no. Same with soy. Soy is another big misconception, and women especially, well, men too, should be avoiding soy unless it's a fermented soy, because soy has false estrogens in it, which can mess up your hormones. So there's so many little tips and tidbits that you would get if you're looking at my healing kits, which are complete, and actually the healing kits are going on sale this Friday because I'm clearing out old stock because I've completely redesigned them.
Oh, that's so cool.
But those tips and tidbits are all in those kits. Or you can work with me one-on-one. But there's lots, as you say, there's a ton of information out there. There's so many different options available to us, but it's incredibly overwhelming now. And people don't know, as you said, what is the right thing. And oftentimes it is trial by error, but at what cost to your own body?
Right. And I will say this about your kits. She says there's like information that comes with it, but what it is, it's like a small ebook that really goes through every single thing that you should know on how to support your healing kit and yourself through the process. And she outlines food. Literally it's, I think pamphlet is not the right term. It really is a really substantial ebook, and I've downloaded. I always look at mine, and it has so much information. And if you wanted to really go deeper and invest in yourself and your health and go deeper with something, getting that consultation with Andrea is the first step. And of course, depending on where you're at in your health, you can decide if you want to go further. Honestly, I think it's one of the best investments to do is to go ahead and do the course with Andrea and for at least a minimum of 3 months, because it is about reprogramming. It's about education. And that's not something that you can necessarily just absorb from a book. It's about one-on-one, and communication, and definitely being very particular to what you're going through. Not all books are very individualized. So, and the great thing about Andrea is when you talk to her, she's able to break it down. She has plenty of experience and years of doing something like this. She has a vast clientele. She walks the walk. Definitely. I mean, just the consultation alone, you're going to walk away with so much information and know what you need to do. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I think that's such valuable information on the green juicing. I think what we do is that we just see something or we see a recipe, and not necessarily, this is the thing about the internet, we don't necessarily go further and investigate on, should we be drinking something like this? Is this going to be sustainable for us? Is this going to be the cure-all? And sometimes the reality is it's all about balance, and it's not. So getting that education about it was really insightful. So thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, I want to talk a little bit about stress management and downtime. I think that, we've talked about it, definitely one-on-one on how important that is. But can you give us some tips of maybe what you do in your business on how to just walk away when things get stressful? Like maybe even tell us anything that would be related into, I know you already went through like the nutrition kind of tips with that, but I think it bears to be mentioned, especially with snacks and what we need to do. And we don't really plan ahead for ourselves and make sure that we have the right sort of foods on hand when we're running around like crazy. And, you just finished a client at 12. You got to punch something out for your editor before 2 p.m. so you can go pick up your kids, grab some food, make it, and then go back on the computer and start working again. Like that crazy cycle is very normal. What are the things that we should do to set ourselves up for success so we don't fall into, being stressed out and then, of course, inviting illness in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are great. That's something great to look at. You're right. So generally this is what I do. And hey, I'm not perfect either. I definitely, can run myself ragged if I'm really, really, as you say, pushing for a deadline or trying to really get something done that I'm in a crunch. However, in general, what I generally try to do is and again, I'm a mom too. I have teenagers, I have a busy household. I live on a farm. I got goats in the barn, and, I got lots of things going on here. So it is all about balance for me. And I'm a schedule queen when it comes to stuff like that. So
before you go in, and we'll talk about your scheduling stuff, but I just have to say, you got to check out her blog, because there's a raccoon that lives with her and is in the kitchen sometimes with her kids. And it's like hysterical. I was on a call with you once, and there's like this raccoon that's like cooing in the background. Like, did she just say raccoon? She's not kidding. She lives on a farm. And this raccoon, you just have to check out her blog just to see the pictures alone. But I digress. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Talk about your schedule.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, well, every now and then Jessica shows up, and I feed them still in the barn. Her and her brother are the only two that are left of the four. And I was giving her bananas 2 nights ago in the barn, so she's still around.
Yes, Jessica. I forgot her name, Jessica. Yeah.
Yes, she's very sweet. Anyway, so yeah, I got lots going on, as you can tell. So what I generally try to do is I generally like to keep, a schedule of, I have one, I try to not do work on the weekends. Now, having said that, I still do all my Hootsuite advertising in the mornings, and then I'm just done. And sometimes on a Sunday, if I have some free time, I will sit down and think about my weekly blog or what I'm going to say. And I might even hash part of it out. But I don't stick religiously to that. I try to keep my Saturday, Sundays for myself. But everybody's lifestyle is different. You have to find those 1 or 2 days that are just your days to be flexible, to not have to do work if you don't have to. And for me, it's always the weekend, because I got kids and they're home, and, we want to be available for them. And if we need to go to a, gymnastics meet with my son, or we went skiing on the weekend, with my daughter, things like that. So having downtime and scheduling your downtime is vitally important. The other thing I recommend is, if you can, on a Sunday, like at dinner time when you're making up sort of your Sunday evening meal, is to make something large for the week. So for instance, and I'm actually running a detox program right now, so I'm actually on a fast week. So it's a pretty simple week for meals. It's liquids and juices and broths, and it's not that complicated this week. So I'm drinking lots of water and tea and things like that. But on a normal day-to-day, I generally try to make like a large something on a Sunday. So it might be like a lima bean stew, or it might be some kind of, mixed bean curry with rice, or something that is large enough that I can have for my lunches all week. So if you're okay with that, if you're okay with having the same thing over and over again, that is kind of what gets me through, is knowing that in the morning I'm going to do either a protein shake of some sort, or I'm going to do my raw vegan oatmeal, which is a recipe that I have in many of those kits. Both of those recipes are actually in most of those kits. And then I have my pre-made sort of lunch that I can do. And if it's not that, then it's a quick salad. So that's kind of getting food and nutrition out of the way, and having it already kind of pre-scheduled in your head and in the fridge and in the cupboards is kind of key for me. That's the only way I can get through my week and not feel like I have to stop and think about what I need to make, because I actually hate making meals in a crunch.
Right. I do too. And I noticed that I'm most successful when I plan my meals out the week ahead. It definitely works with me for sure. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any suggestions on snacks and stuff like that maybe you could take, with you if you find yourself, going to a meeting, to yoga, not coming home for 3 or 4 hours? Like, what are the key things that you can take with you?
Mm-hmm. Generally, one of the biggest things I take now, again, my body typology is, needs fats and proteins. So I'm always looking at fats and proteins. I may take like some chopped up fruit with me. But fruit doesn't always satisfy me enough. I generally take mixed nuts of some sort. I take them everywhere. Now, here's a really interesting free tip for you, is most nuts, and especially all seeds, need to be pre-soaked and re-dried. So myself and my girlfriends and my clients now understand this concept, because seeds, especially like, sesame and pumpkin seeds and all that, which are supposed to be really highly nutritious for us, which they are, but they also can stress out the thyroid because of the way that they're dried and processed prior to us getting them. So everything should be soaked for a minimum of either 24 hours, or what I do is I force the issue is I get my organic nuts and seeds, and then what I do is I pour boiling water over them for about an hour, and then I drain them, and then I spread them out on a sheet, and I lightly, toast them in the oven. And then I put Himalayan salt over them, shake them all up, and then put them in a jar. And that's what we use for the week. So nuts and seeds are one of my biggest things that I can munch on as I go. And then I'll do like carrot sticks and celery sticks and things that I can throw in a bag and go. And actually sometimes I'll just grab a carrot and eat it, skin and everything all on it, and as I'm running out the door. But vegetables and proteins are my big one. Those are my big energy things. And then lots of drinks. Like I do teas all the time, and I have my water. I have a jug of water with me all the time that has a dash of Himalayan salt and my liquid minerals in it. Like all those kind of things that you need to pre-do so that you can just grab them and go, those are key.
Wow. Okay. So we've had a lot of conversations, you and I, one-on-one, and this was like probably the most impactful, informational thing that I've ever had with you. So Andrea, I want to thank you so much. And I want to encourage everybody to check out her website, Wholistic with a W, holistichealthcare.ca. Check out her website. Look at her healing kits. Look at all of these great things. She even has videos on her website. Get to know Andrea. Get a consultation for sure, and maybe even get to talk and understand more. Because I think another call that we could do, another segment would be just about getting behind the theory of body typology. I mean, my ears just perked up. So I know that was really interesting on being, just understanding what mine would be and how I can frame it with the right support, I think is so valuable. And thank you so much, Andrea.
You're welcome. Yeah, it is true that I do find with every client, that's the first thing I go through is we do a whole metabolic assessment, because number one is if your physical body is stressed in any way, you're going to feel it on every other level. Whether you have mental, emotional stress or not, yes, we all do, and it's all affecting your physical body as well, but it's getting that physical body going first, which is so paramount to everything else. And what's interesting is you're right, what works for one body does not work for another body. And so if I can lay the groundwork and get them physically feeling better, then it's so much easier to shift, the mental, emotional stress.
Oh, that's so good. Well, I'm going to end it at that note. So thank you so much for being on the Beauty Beat, and we'll talk to you later, perhaps on another show.
Thank you, Francesca.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Andrea Coulter and her tips on dynamic medicine. To check out more advice related to the modern entrepreneur, check out socialglobalgrind.com.